This morning for us at Marley. Let's trade it now with Tim Bigham, options strategist at Pilot AI. How are you approaching your example trade after these upgrades for AMD and Intel, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam, looking really at the comparative performance of these two stocks, which has really favored Intel over the past year. Intel outperforming AMD by about 50% on a price basis. About half of that coming just this year alone. We've seen AMD actually down this year and Intel continuing to rip to fresh new highs here. Valuations now leaning towards AMD. Thought I'd never say that. A year ago, I would have loved Intel because I'm more of a value low beta guy. Intel has turned from kind of the redheaded stepchild into that, big blonde, if you will, that everyone's chasing here. So I think going forward, I look for that price divergence to revert here. I think that AMD will probably be an outperformer to Intel just on a price basis alone. Whether or not these stocks head higher and continue to from here is the million-dollar question. And how long lasting will this, tightness in the market, margin expansion last, I think is what's going to really fuel long-term the performance for not only AMD and Intel, but for the semis and basically the AI stocks generally. So I favor the IVs very high on Intel, over 50%, AMD right around 30%, so options cheaper in AMD. So I would do a pairs trade if I had to pick a strategy here. Buy some calls on AMD, sell out of the money call spreads on Intel, and just look for that price performance to converge. And you kind of have a neutral trade, just looking really for AMD to be a relative outperformer.
Okay, we'll be watching out for that, but certainly a bright spot in what is otherwise a bit of a down market this morning. Tim, I mean, obviously it wasn't the case when we got up and running today off the back of that inflation print. Perhaps a little bit of relief here, but we have pulled back. Just your thoughts on the overall market performance today?
Well, you talked about it earlier, Sam, where everyone has their, S&P 7K hat on, Dow 50K hats on. They're still waiting for that. I think it's really, we had some pretty decent inflation numbers earlier, but the 10-year yields really didn't budge at all. 10 years still well above 4% here. So I think at some point, earnings are going to have to come in very good here. JP let it out. Not too great, I thought, overall here, big banks. And I think Taiwan Semi, which reports Thursday during the middle of the night, will be kind of the first big chip names. I think that will kind of tell us a story going forward. But I'm guardedly kind of neutral to maybe a touch bearish on the market here, just given that it's had such a 3-year run and valuation certainly at extremes here without interest rates heading much lower.
Yeah, and then of course Taiwan Semi out with some pretty good sales numbers, I think, over the last week or so, which helped give the stock a little bit of a bump as well. So perhaps a bit of a prelude to what we're likely to hear from that report card. Always appreciate it, Tim. Thanks so much for joining us and your example trades for Intel and AMD this morning. Tim Bigham, options strategist at Pilot AI.